Do you ever feel like the world is spinning a little too fast these days? That everywhere you turn, there's noise, pressure, and a nagging feeling like you need to rush. Rush to answer a message. Rush to get to the store. Rush just to keep up? If you're in your 60s or beyond, you're not imagining it. Life has picked up speed, and sometimes it feels like society forgot how to slow down. But here's the good news. You don't have to live that way. In fact, slowing down might be the best decision you make for your body, your mind, and your soul. There's a quiet power in living slowly. It's not about doing less or giving up. It's about doing things with more presence, more intention, and more care. If you're over 60, this mindset shift can bring remarkable benefits, from better sleep and lower anxiety to deeper relationships and a more joyful daily life. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. So grab a cup of tea, settle into your favorite chair, and let's take this moment together. We're going to talk heart to heart about how embracing slow living can open new doors for you, not just figuratively, but in the way you feel when you wake up, the way your body responds to stress, and the way your days start to feel more meaningful again. Let's begin with something we all long for, but rarely prioritize: peace of mind. It's one thing to say we want to feel calm and centered, but how often do we give ourselves permission to truly slow down and breathe? Slow living invites you to do just that. It's a conscious choice to stop rushing through the motions and instead savor your time, whether you're preparing breakfast, sitting on the porch, or enjoying a walk through the neighborhood. This simple act of doing things more slowly allows your nervous system to calm down. Your heartbeat softens, your breathing deepens, and little by little, that weight of anxiety starts to lift. You might notice, for instance, that when you're not rushing, your mornings feel less frantic. You enjoy your coffee instead of gulping it. You listen to the birds outside rather than the morning news shouting from the TV. This isn't just romanticizing stillness. It's real, physiological change. Studies have shown that when we slow our pace, our cortisol levels, the stress hormone, can drop. And for older adults, reducing stress is not just a nice to have. It's essential. High levels of stress have been linked to heart problems, memory issues, and even a weakened immune system. By slowing down, you're not being lazy. You're actually taking charge of your health in a deeply impactful way. And then there's the gift of better sleep. Now, if you've ever found yourself tossing and turning at night, or waking up at 3 a.m. with your mind racing, you're not alone. Many older adults struggle with sleep, and while some of it is natural with age, a lot of it comes from the way we spend our days. A life filled with constant stimulation, noise, and distraction doesn't magically switch off at bedtime. Your body might be in bed, but your mind is still spinning. Slow living helps prepare you for rest long before your head hits the pillow. Think about what your evenings look like. Are you scrolling on your phone? Watching intense news programs? Trying to cram in chores before the day ends? Or are you allowing yourself a gentle wind down? Maybe reading a good book, enjoying soft music, or doing a little stretching. By creating a rhythm of calm and quiet in the hours before bed, you're telling your body, it's safe to let go now. Over time, this leads to deeper, more restorative sleep, and that changes everything. You wake up with more energy. Your memory improves. Even your mood gets a lift. What's beautiful about this approach is that it doesn't require a prescription or a complicated routine. It's about tuning into your body and honoring its need to rest. So if your day feels like it's been packed too tightly, ask yourself, what can I remove? What can wait until tomorrow? What would happen if I gave myself permission to end the day gently? You might be surprised how powerful those questions can be. And speaking of powerful, slow living also strengthens something incredibly important as we get older: emotional well-being. Now, we all experience highs and lows. That's part of life. But in this fast-paced, always connected world, it's easy to become emotionally drained without even realizing it. Constant notifications, busy schedules, and the pressure to always do more can leave us feeling overwhelmed and disconnected from others and from ourselves. By embracing a slower lifestyle, we create space to actually feel our feelings. That might sound simple, but it's truly transformative. When you're not rushing from one task to the next, you begin to notice how you're really doing. You give yourself time to process a difficult memory. You sit with your joy a little longer. You don't push past your sadness. You acknowledge it with kindness. That emotional awareness builds resilience, which is crucial in our later years. Let's take an example. Say you've lost someone dear to you. Maybe it happened recently, or maybe it was years ago. In the rush of daily life, it's easy to tuck that grief away, thinking you've moved on. But when you slow down, you might realize there are still pieces of that grief you haven't fully held. And that's okay. Slow living gives you the gift of time to reflect, to remember, to heal in a way that feels natural instead of forced. It's not about wallowing, but about being present with yourself, even in hard moments. And this presence carries over into how we relate to others. One of the most beautiful things about slow living is how it deepens our connections with people. When you're not constantly distracted or pressed for time, you can truly listen. You notice the twinkle in your grandchild's eye when they tell a story. You sense the emotion behind a friend's words. You make space for meaningful conversations instead of rushed check-ins. This kind of attentiveness is rare these days, but it's something that people over 60 can truly model for younger generations. You've lived enough life to know that relationships are what matter most. And when you choose to slow down, you show others, your kids, your neighbors, your friends, that time together is sacred. That connection isn't found in a quick text message, but in shared meals, long walks, and lingering laughter. Sometimes, all it takes is picking up the phone and calling an old friend with no agenda other than to say, "I was thinking of you." Or sitting on the porch with your spouse and letting the silence speak for itself. These small, slow moments are what build closeness. They're what nourish the soul. So as we begin to explore the deeper benefits of slow living, take a moment and reflect. What's one part of your day that feels rushed, and how might it change if you gave yourself permission to slow it down? What could open up in your life if you embraced a softer pace? Not just once in a while, but every day. Because the truth is, slow living isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing what matters most, on your terms, with your heart fully in it. When you begin to approach your day with more presence, something else starts to shift. Your sense of purpose becomes clearer. And that brings us to another beautiful gift of slow living: rediscovering meaning in the everyday. You see, when life moves fast, it's easy to overlook the small things that bring real satisfaction. Maybe it's the way sunlight comes through the kitchen window in the morning. Maybe it's the smell of fresh bread or the comfort of tending to your garden. These moments can pass you by if you're always chasing the next errand or worrying about tomorrow. But when you slow down, you begin to see them again. And more than that, you begin to treasure them. For many people over 60, there can be a quiet question lingering beneath the surface. What now? Maybe the kids are grown and living far away. Maybe retirement has opened up time, but also a kind of emptiness you didn't expect. Maybe the roles you once filled, caregiver, provider, worker, have shifted. Slow living won't answer every question, but it does create the space to ask them honestly and gently. When you move more slowly, you begin to notice what lights you up again. Maybe it's something creative, like painting or writing or learning to play an instrument. Maybe it's volunteering or mentoring, sharing your wisdom with someone who truly needs it. These aren't just hobbies, they're threads that bring purpose back into your days. And with purpose comes energy. You feel more engaged, more alive. One woman I spoke with recently shared how she started baking again in her 70s. She hadn't made pies since her children were young, but now, every Sunday afternoon, she rolls out dough, slices fresh apples, and invites her neighbors over for dessert. It's not a big event, just a slow, sweet tradition that's brought new friendships and a sense of joy she didn't even realize she'd been missing. That's the magic of slow living. It reawakens passions, one gentle moment at a time. Another powerful thing happens when we live at a slower pace. We become more in tune with our bodies. At this stage in life, our bodies speak to us more often, sometimes with stiffness, aches, or fatigue. But when we're rushing through the day, we don't always hear what it's trying to say. We push through discomfort, ignore pain, or brush off fatigue as something we'll deal with later. Slow living changes that relationship. It invites you to listen, to pay attention, and to care for your body like a trusted companion. Maybe it's taking that extra 5 minutes to stretch in the morning, or choosing to walk at a gentler pace and really feel the movement of your joints. Maybe it's choosing a nourishing meal not because a doctor told you to, but because your body genuinely feels better afterward. When you slow down, you give yourself the gift of responding to your body with kindness. That can mean more restful days when needed, or simply learning to move in ways that feel good instead of pushing through discomfort. And over time, this kind of gentle awareness can improve mobility, reduce inflammation, and even help you feel younger. Not because you're chasing youth, but because you're honoring your body where it is, right now. One man I knew started taking daily nature walks after retiring. Not power walks, not for exercise goals, just slow strolls through the local park. At first, he thought it would be boring. But within weeks, he found himself feeling more connected, not just physically, but emotionally. He said the rhythm of walking helped him process thoughts that had been swirling in his head for months. And physically, he started sleeping better, eating better, and even noticed his balance improving. All because he stopped trying to push and started choosing presence instead. And speaking of connection, let's not forget how slow living deepens our relationship with time itself. That might sound strange, but think about it. How often do we feel like time is slipping away, or that there's just never enough of it? But when we slow down, we actually begin to feel like we have more time. Not because the clock changes, but because we change. We become more intentional with how we use our minutes and hours. We stop wasting energy on things that don't serve us. We start making time for what truly matters. You may notice this when you choose to sit and enjoy your lunch rather than eating it in front of the TV. Or when you turn off your phone and simply look out the window for a few minutes, watching the leaves move in the breeze. These small acts may seem insignificant, but they're actually powerful. They reclaim your sense of time and presence. And over time, they lead to a life that feels fuller, richer, and more grounded. Now, I want to touch on something that often gets overlooked, especially in conversations about aging: joy. Not just happiness that comes and goes, but true, sustaining joy, the kind that makes you smile without even realizing it. Slow living opens the door to this kind of joy because it clears away the noise. When you're not constantly reacting to life, you begin to participate in it more fully. You notice beauty, you appreciate simplicity, and you stop waiting for something big to bring happiness. You find it in the small, consistent rhythms of your day. Imagine starting your morning not with a rush, but with a moment of stillness, maybe sitting by the window with your hands wrapped around a warm mug of coffee. You breathe in deeply, feeling the quiet hum of the morning, the light shifting across the walls. It's not dramatic, but it's deeply satisfying. That's the kind of joy slow living invites into your life. It doesn't demand anything from you except your presence. And what's more, this approach to life ripples out. Your calm becomes a gift to those around you. When you're more grounded, your interactions feel more genuine. You have the space to offer others patience, compassion, and real attention. Whether it's a grandchild telling you about their day or a friend sharing something heavy on their heart, your presence becomes something sacred. And people feel that. They know when you're truly there with them, and it matters. So as we continue on this journey together, I want you to consider something. What would it look like if you gave yourself permission to slow down, not just as a treat, but as a way of life? How would it feel to approach each day with intention, to truly listen to your body and your heart, and to rediscover joy in the simplest things? Because slow living isn't about going backwards. It's about moving forward differently, with more grace, more wisdom, and more heart. And here's the beautiful truth. When you begin to move through life more slowly and intentionally, your relationships deepen in ways that feel both surprising and deeply familiar. Think about how easy it is for conversations to become quick exchanges of information. Did you take your pills? How was your doctor's appointment? Don't forget your coat. They're important, of course, but slow living invites something richer. It creates space for connection that goes beyond the surface. When you take time to sit with someone and really listen, without checking your phone, without mentally making a to-do list, you create a feeling of being seen. And that's something we all crave, no matter our age. It could be a phone call with an old friend, where instead of catching up in a rush, you linger a little longer, ask deeper questions, and share stories that make you both laugh. It could be a moment with a grandchild, where you kneel down and really enter their world as they show you their drawing or explain something only they understand. These slower moments carry weight. They linger in the memory far longer than we realize. And the best part is, they don't require a special event or elaborate planning. They happen when we simply choose to be fully present with the people we love. You may notice that as you practice this, people respond differently to you. They open up more. They relax around you. That's because your calm presence becomes a kind of anchor, a steadying force in a world that often feels too fast and too loud. For many people over 60, this is a season of life when relationships begin to shift. Friends move away, loved ones pass on, children get busy with their own lives. But slow living can help you nourish the connections that still exist and even create new ones with greater care. One gentleman I know began inviting a few neighbors over once a week for what he calls slow tea. Nothing fancy, just tea, cookies, and unhurried conversation. Sometimes they talk about their gardens. Sometimes it's old music or memories from childhood. But every week, those gatherings fill him with something that's hard to put into words. It's not just companionship. It's belonging. That kind of connection is what slow living makes room for. And when you feel like you truly belong, anxiety tends to fade, sleep improves, and even your overall sense of well-being lifts. Speaking of sleep, let's talk about that, because for many older adults, sleep becomes more elusive over time. Maybe you fall asleep easily but wake up in the early hours. Or maybe your mind races the moment your head hits the pillow. What you might not realize is that the pace you set during the day can have a big impact on how you rest at night. When your days are filled with rushing, constant stimulation, or emotional stress, your body stays on high alert. Even if you feel physically tired, your nervous system hasn't had time to unwind. But when you embrace slow living, you begin to regulate that internal rhythm. Your days become less jarring. You wind down earlier. You create rituals that cue your body it's time to rest. Maybe a warm bath, soft music, or journaling for a few minutes before bed. It may take time, but these simple shifts can help your body remember how to sleep well again. You might find yourself waking up less often, or waking up more refreshed. And more importantly, you'll begin to trust your body again, to know it can support you when you treat it with care and gentleness. I once spoke to a woman who began doing just 10 minutes of quiet breathing each night before bed. At first, she said it felt odd. But after a few weeks, her sleep started to deepen. Her anxiety eased. And she said something that stuck with me. It's like I gave my mind permission to let go. That's what slow living does. It reminds your body and mind that it's safe to rest. And in a world that's constantly telling us to do more, be more, achieve more, rest becomes a radical act of self-love. Now, none of this means you have to give up activity or ambition. On the contrary, slow living can enhance the things you care about by helping you show up more fully. It might mean painting with more presence, walking with more awareness, talking with more attention. And from this place of grounded living, you may find yourself more creative, more open to new experiences, and even more adventurous, not in the flashy, adrenaline-fueled way, but in a gentle, soul-filling way. You might finally take that scenic drive just to enjoy the view, or try a new recipe just for the pleasure of it. You might go bird watching, not because it's trendy, but because it helps you feel connected to the rhythms of nature. Or you might simply sit on your porch and watch the world move around you, knowing that you are not behind, not missing out, but exactly where you need to be. And here's the most important thing to remember. Slow living isn't about doing less. It's about doing what matters, with more heart, more clarity, and more ease. It's about choosing how you spend your time, rather than letting the world choose for you. And at this stage in life, that kind of freedom is a gift you've more than earned. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed, scattered, or even a little lost in the shuffle of it all, I want you to know there's a gentler way. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to race. You can let go of the pressure and come home to yourself. One breath at a time, one moment at a time. And now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you already started embracing slow living in your own way? Maybe you've created a morning ritual that brings you peace, or maybe you've reconnected with someone just by being more present. Whatever your experience, share it in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else who's just beginning this journey. If this video spoke to you, give it a like so others can discover it too. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We're creating a space where people like you can find inspiration, connection, and encouragement every step of the way. Above all, remember this: you are not behind. You are not running out of time. You are right on time. And a slower, sweeter, more meaningful life is waiting for you with open arms. Wishing you peace, presence, and joy at every age.